Few of us can say that we are 100% happy with our looks, but according to recent reports, the recession has not stopped us from splashing out in our quest for physical perfection, as the number of Irish women and men going under the knife continues to rise.
Yep, cosmetic surgery is one of the fastest growing industries in this country, with breast jobs and liposuction the most popular procedures across the country. This morning we're joined by Dr. Treacy from the Ailesbury clinic in Dublin and Amanda Harvey, who's recently had a cosmetic surgery makeover. And of course you're both very welcome to the show.
Morning, guys.
Thanks for coming in, A, to tell us all about it, and B, to tell us about your experiences. Some time in this industry?
It's amazing, Aidan. I suppose Botox has joined what we call the RPIs. We noticed this phenomenon back after the Wall Street crash. Apparently, Cadbury's Burnful chocolate sold 3 times more during that period than it had before. During the Second World War, people went to films at a rate that we hadn't seen before. We've seen Ireland during the 1980s. The pubs were full, and we now see it with our particular industry. It's interesting that sort of whenever the economy crashes, things that you trade up in, like new cars and that, sort of seem to sort of go to one side, but certainly things that make people feel better seem to boom rather than go away. We certainly have had our best month in both our Dublin and our Cork clinic last month, and it's a really exciting time to be in the industry. There's so many things out there at the moment that didn't exist before. Just within this year alone, we have new forms of liposuction that you use ultrasound to liquefy fat. We have new forms of hair transplant. You don't need surgery, you can just transplant from one side to the other. Breasts can now be sort of done through a little needle instead of requiring breast implants. And as the sort of, I suppose, whole industry changes towards things that are easier, safer, it's been reflected also across the scale in terms of people turning up like they have never done before in some ways, particularly with dermal fillers and Botox.
Safety's the key there.
Absolutely. Who's coming to you and what are they having done?
Okay, it's right across the board. There's no doubt about it. The introduction of macrolane, which is breast implants that are done just through the same
this is
type
the
of
injection boob.
Yes, I can't keep up with that. I mean, in some ways, I'm cutting it down to just 2 a day because it would take over things that we're doing. And because there's only 4 doctors in Ireland licensed to do it, and probably it will remain that way for the sort of near future, the demand is there. We have something like 100 patients on a waiting list for that alone.
Well, is it possible to profile the people who are coming in? Is it want versus need? Is it people just who have loads of money and nothing else to do? Or is there must be a case whereby somebody coming in because they have esteem issues or...
Sure. I suppose for different things, Aidan, it changes. If we were to take breast alone, breasts are very like hair transplant. You have 2 different peaks. You have people during the courtship years of their life, and that's 18 to 23, and that's the first peak.
18 to 23?
For breasts and for hair transplant, yeah. Because, I mean, hair and breasts are part of secondary sexual characteristics, you know? And then you have a second sort of peak in both of those, and that's when either people get a bit money or when girls have had their postnatal experience where Cooper's ligaments begin to droop, and as a consequence they need their breasts projected up again. So the second sort of peak seems to be 35 to 45. But for different things like Botox, it's right across the board, certainly from probably 25 upwards. And I think as this becomes more socially acceptable, as a consequence, the market still hasn't reached a saturation point in the UK and Ireland. Now, the same thing has been reflected in America, believe it or not, where the economy has even taken a harder hit than we have and will continue. It's interesting, cosmetic surgery hasn't dropped, but some interesting things, LASIK eye operations have dropped. Over the last 2 years, they've dropped off by something as high as 24%. But certainly, the cosmetic industry, particularly in terms of cosmetic medicine rather than cosmetic surgery, had reached the saturation level in the States, and now as the economy goes down, it's taken a secondary boost.
Vain and shallow.
I think so.
Is that a fair comment?
Well, I suppose maybe we should ask Amanda that rather than me. I'll take the political sort of default of that.
Before we get to Amanda, Patrick, can I ask you quickly, are men coming in their droves as well, and if so, what are they having done?
It is an increasing phenomenon. There's no doubt about that. The big thing with men, I suppose, is, as you would expect, everybody's getting fatter, so things like liposuction, there's no doubt about that. In terms of what we would say vanity, and I certainly don't particularly want to label people like that, men are coming in for removal of hair on their chest, reduction of man boobs, And then the things that we would have normally seen, noses, eye bags, they'd be fairly common.
So women are making them bigger and men are making them smaller.
Does it cost a fortune?
Not really.
So what's the average spend, or is that possible? Everyone's different.
Sure. I mean,
But for the
Botox...
Macrolane, for example, which you said is the injectable boob, which is really popular, how much would that cost?
Macrolane is expensive because it costs us a lot of money.
Okay.
For me to get the product cost me about $2,800. So as a consequence of that, we retail it in the region of about $3,300. And it'll last for 18 months, but most people get a top-up, which costs between $1,000 and probably $1,200 every year. But the whole process only takes about half an hour. And to be honest, from my point of view, it's the new Botox. It works on everybody. Everybody's happy with it. And from a business point of view, even though this might sound a terrible thing to say, but it is true from the point of view, it wears off, it has minimal side effects, and people go through the same process
So
again.
you've got repeat custom.
You got repeat custom. You know,
Now,
so
I know, Amanda, coming to you, your breasts are all your own. You didn't need to worry about that. But you have been through a complete makeover, essentially, plastic surgery makeover. Tell us what you did and why you decided to have it done.
Well, I decided to enter for the Inside and Out on
TV3's
TV3, yeah.
makeover.